Kanye West has upset the entire anti-white segment of our society, daring to do what none of the supposed leaders in the culture war of conservative Inc. and the brand name Republicans would ever even consider doing, and that is wearing a White Lives Matter shirt. Better yet, he did it at a fashion show in Paris alongside his friend Candace Owens, who you probably know he has credited with helping to wake him up to what it is that's going on in society. And then to add insult to injury, he posted on his Instagram page that everyone knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it's over. You're welcome. Then yesterday, he sat down for an in-depth interview with Tucker Carlson where he didn't exactly give a direct answer about why he did it. He gave more of the artistic answer in that it was needed and that art speaks for itself. But the liberal media industrial complex already were having a meltdown over him wearing the shirt. And now that he sat down with Tucker Carlson, they're definitely not going to get over this anytime soon. The New York Times declares that there is no excuse for Yeez. That's what he kind of calls himself now. You know how these rappers like to come up with new names for themselves, so Yee or Yeezy. So there is no excuse for Yee's White Lives Matter shirt. No excuse. Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or Diddy as he calls himself now, attacked Kanye West on Instagram. And this is from Rolling Stone magazine. While the music mogul says that he will always support the rapper as a free thinker, he took to Instagram to condemn the racist t-shirt. It's racist now to care about white people. Esquire magazine, is that even in print anymore? Probably just another online waste of cyberspace. Said that he is a racist by proxy. Meanwhile, Chris Hayes over at MSNBC is upset that Fox News is reporting on crime because he is noticing a certain pattern, and of course that's racist. He says that he cannot overstate the degree to which the gruesome surveillance footage of black people committing violent crimes has become the quasi-permanent wallpaper on Fox these days, just over and over. Well, if certain people weren't committing so many crimes, then, well, I better not go there. Meanwhile, the systemic anti-whiteism in America continues to spread, but thankfully, some people are finally starting to speak out against it and start suing for discrimination against white people. Amazon is being sued because their diversity grant is only for people of color, which they don't even consider Asians to be people of color, so it excludes white people and Asians. Meanwhile, many school districts across the country have been upgrading and changing the way that they grade students because they think that the grading system is racist, so they're no longer docking the grades of students for behavior or for turning in assignments late, and they say that that's to combat racism. I don't even need to explain really what's going on here. I think everybody already understands that. The teachers union in Minneapolis, Minnesota has decided that if they have to lay off teachers because of budget cuts, that they're going to lay off the white teachers first, regardless of their seniority.
This morning, the Minneapolis School District is sticking with its controversial policy to lay off white teachers before minority ones, regardless of tenure. Previously, district-wide layoffs used to be handed out based on seniority. In March, the Minneapolis Teachers Union negotiated a contract with the district that states non-white people can be exempted from layoffs.
Meanwhile, Ibrahim X. Kendi, one of these big anti-white activists who bills himself as an anti-racist activist, and that's a fake name, by the way. It's a pseudonym that he picked so he can sound like some African warlord or something. I think his real name is like Bob Jones or something, some plain old name. But he tweeted out, and this is part of his standardized propaganda, that, quote, I'll say it again and again, standardized tests have become the most effective racist weapon ever devised to objectively degrade black minds and legally exclude their bodies. So literally standardized tests, again, are standard. They ask the same questions of all the students, regardless of their race or all of that. That's racist. So I guess he wants, on the IQ tests or the tests to get into college, the entrance exams, to maybe ask some of the black students what their favorite Tupac song is or something. And according to MSNBC, it may seem harmless, but the insidious racism of the American religious right, I mean, it's Christians, of course, obsession with homeschooling speaks volumes. So if you don't want your children to go to a government school and you decide to homeschool them and you're white, then of course you're going to be called a white supremacist neo-Nazi. Oh, and remember when Terry McAuliffe was running for governor of Virginia that he said that there were too many white teachers in the schools? Of course.
And I promise you, we've got to diversify our teacher base here in Virginia. 50% of the students in Virginia schools, K-12, 50% are students of color, and yet 80% of the teachers are white. We all know what we have to do in a school to make everybody feel comfortable in school. So let's diversify.
And I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, I could do, an hour report every day about the anti-white stories, but we'll just go through a few more here. McDonald's has decided that the management, not like the managers of the restaurant, but managers within the corporation, if they don't promote black people and other minorities instead of white people, then they're not going to get their bonuses. So now McDonald's is keeping track of the race of the different people who get promoted. And then if the people aren't promoting, or if they are promoting too many white people, then they're not going to get their bonus. So you have to be racist now. You have to be anti-white to work at McDonald's. And up there in Seattle, they used to have a mandatory bike helmet law, but they repealed that because of imaginary racism, because somebody decided to tally up the amount of tickets that black people were getting versus white people, and black people tended to get more tickets for not wearing helmets, and instead of the obvious conclusion that for whatever reason, or reasons you're not supposed to get into or question, that they just tended to not wear helmets as much as other groups of people, that they must have been specifically targeted by the racist police officers. In other anti-whiteism news, Jordan Peele, the big Hollywood director behind films like Get Out, has said out loud that he will never cast a white person as the lead in any of his films because he only makes films for black people. But of course, if a white person said that they, wanted a film with just a bunch of white people in it to reflect their experience, perhaps growing up, or their experience in their own community, that of course would be widely denounced as white supremacist. Meanwhile, in economic news, as you know, the inflation continues to spiral out of control. But don't worry, the Federal Reserve is tackling the inflation crisis with its most diverse leadership ever. This is an article from the Associated Press celebrating the diverse team on the Federal Reserve now, and apparently there's a black woman on the board, so I'm sure that the inflation problem is going to just get taken care of right away. I mean, what's next? Are they going to say that grocery store aisles are racist? Oh wait, what's this?
Here's a loaf of Italian bread in an East Coast supermarket chain. It's in aisle 12, the bread aisle, surrounded by other types of bread. So if Italian bread exists in the bread aisle, why do Chinese noodles exist here in the international aisle? These crunchy Chinese noodles or crispy wonton strips are typically served as an appetizer or snack in American Chinese restaurants. So why aren't they in, say, the chip aisle? It doesn't seem to make much sense. So is there some hidden racism in your supermarket?
If you want to support my work, click the join button or the link in the description below to become a paid subscriber of my channel for $5 or $10 a month. Or click the thanks button below the video to tip me like you would any good bartender or waiter by leaving what's called a super thanks in the comments below. It highlights your comment in color, sort of like it does in a super chat during a live stream, and it's a great way to support the channel. So scroll on down and find the join or thanks button or the link in the description below, and check them out.